Islam. Brother Abdulla, Mosi Bay. I'm going to expand on some points in the Prophet's warning, divine warning by the Prophet for all nations that Brother Taj read earlier. I'm going to elaborate on more. So I'm going to read some excerpts and relate them. So you return back to the centerfold. The first paragraph: the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all one family bearing one free national name. Now, United States Republic of North America has a national name. Does anyone know the national name of the United States Republic of North America? It's a Moorish nation. The national name has been Masonically buried. And often said earlier, the United States has a dual national seal. And most oftentimes people will look at the United States of Republic of North America and the Moorish nation, and I see them as one. The United States of Mexico. You know, that's the United States of Mexico. In fact, if you look at any coins, they'll say Estados Unidos Mexicanos. The national name is Mexico. United States of Brazil. The national name is Brazil. So, and what they'll do, and they'll use the word U.S., U.S., which is the colorable government. And most people think that the United States spelled out and U.S. are the same. U.S. is the colorable government that has subverted the United States Republic of North America. And when they push the U.S., which is the U.S. democracy, they are in fact subverters of the United States Republic of North America and in violation of the Constitution. They are enemies. So anyone who does not push the Republic is an enemy to this Constitution. And most people, most of the officials who are in Congress, Senate, and the House are criminals and are enemies to the United States Republic because they wear nice suits and got nice ties on. You know, most people think they're legitimate, and they're not. So, another point. So, go back there. The one free national name refers to the Moorish nation. That is the free national name of this United States Republic. Continuing. Dually, it says, it is a sin, and it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and to cling to the names and the principles that allude to slavery. He emphasized there the importance of constitutional principles. And as I was talking to a brother earlier, about a half hour ago, the Moorish divine national movement, the heart of it is the constitutional principles, bringing our people back into the constitutional fold of government. And those who are not pushing constitutional principles or teaching them are not teaching the Moorish divine national movement. They may say the name Moorish divine national movement, but they're not talking constitutional principles. They're not talking about the Moorish divine national movement. That is the heart of the movement, bringing our people back into the constitutional fold of government. So my whole purpose is here is to have you really examine Duali, this document here, this divine warning that Duali had, and not just read it, but really absorb what it's really saying, and that this is the driving force, this is the brain of the Moorish divine national movement. And to not push this is to not to push the Moorish divine national movement. Continuing. I, the prophet, was prepared by great God of Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways. You all know what the sinful ways is, the violating constitutional laws. And Duali on the front cover of the Holy Quran says to free my people from their sinful ways. And we already know what the sinful ways is, being outside the constitutional fold of government. So C.M. Bay was very instrumental and following Drew Ali's instructions, he understood that the plebiscite and the divine side of the movement was actually becoming silent. And C.M. Bay actually pushed the national side by continuing to spread the plebiscite and teaching our people constitutional principles. And then you see C.M. Bay's his Clocks of Destiny, he's holding up Bible, and he has the compass and squares, has astronomy, and he emphasizes constitutional principles. C.M. Bay was, in doing that, he was expanding the Moorish divine national movement. And is not seeing that. It looks at that C.M. Bay was doing something totally different. C.M. Bay was expanding the Moorish divine national movement. Continuing. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by the government and of the governments of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. So the question is, how does one connect himself or herself to the Moorish divine national movement? And this is where the process of nationalization comes in. And truth, those Moors who are not nationalized are in fact part of the Moorish divine national movement, because that is the issue, is to bring them back into the constitutional fold of government. So when we look at Moors, we're looking at those who are conscious of who they are and active, and those who are not active and conscious. All right, but they're all Moors, which we already know. Now, Drew Ali named the Moorish movement the Divine National Movement. And that's very important to understand the relationship between the divine and civil law. And then the Declaration of Independence, we're going to tie this to being in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve and the political bands which can have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them. There you go. That's the Moorish divine national movement, seeing the relationship between the divine and civil law. I mean, that relationship ain't ancient. Civil law is rooted in divine law. And I was having a discussion with one of my co-workers about 2 days ago. And he deals with metaphysical principles of cause and effect, gender, duality. But what he did not recognize is that civil law is rooted in divine law, and had to explain to him, because he was disconnecting himself from the Constitution. He said he didn't want to do anything to do with, politics, and, I just want to deal with myself, and I just want to deal with the divine principles. I said to you, brother, and I mentioned to him the importance of recognizing that those divine principles are rooted in the civil law. And it's very, very important. And I read the Declaration of Independence, the first section, and showed him the phrase, laws of nature, nature's God. And so he started to understand that. And I mentioned to him that, gave him an example. You and I are talking right now. We are forming a contract. You're allowing me into your aura. I'll use that word because he's on that level. I say, you're allowing me into your aura. I'm allowing you into my aura. All right? By my free will. And you allow me into your aura by your free will. That's a contract. So now let's expand that on a larger level, to deal with a larger body of people. That's what the Constitution is. So when I broke it down that way to him, he began to recognize the relationship between the divine and civil, whereas before he didn't want to have nothing to do with it. All right? So that's very important to understand, because you may have some people who are on the metaphysical level, but disconnect the civil side. Continuing. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me to bring you out of darkness and into the light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and nation. Now, the wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship, by name and principle. By name and principle. So that goes back to nationality. And Duali mentions that here and pushes that. And going back to the national name of the United States being the Moorish nation. Continuing, I love my people and I desire their unity and mind back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by clinging to names and principles that are unconstitutional. All right. Now, constitutional principles are fundamental and very important. And one thing that has not been taught in the Moorish Science temples is constitutional principles. The Moorish divine constitution, divine and national constitution bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America states the phrase part and partial, which is in Act 4 and also in Act 7. The Moorish divine French Constitution and bylaws of the Moorish Moorish Holy Temple of Science. I'm rushing, let me take my time. Moorish Holy Temple of Science uses the phrase part and parcel, and that was done by design. It was deliberate, and was to take the people's consciousness that they are part and parcel of this said government, meaning that they are the founders and constructors of this government, and that we are not naturalized citizens. We are natural born citizens of the United States Republic of North America. So that's we're going to put that in the paper next time, Taj. Both constitutions and bylaws right in the paper, so people can see for themselves, the corruption. Even though you mentioned that in your article. What I'm trying to do is not repeat what you said. I'm going over some things that you said, and that's what I'm trying to expand on. Because actually, you touch a lot of parts of my lesson. All right. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. This is in the section of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And Noble Ali said, "Come all ye Asiatics of North America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthright." Birthright and inalienable rights are synonymous. Joe Ali understood these principles. And he also, as I said before, the Moorish Divine National Movement is for the Europeans as well. And that's to force the Constitution, which has not been enforced. And as you said, Todd said earlier, you have a colorable government that is ruling, and that is called the U.S. And not to be confused with the United States spelled out. So understand, I was speaking to a brother earlier about the distinction and making it very clear. Because one of the comments was that the United States spelled out is colorable, and that is the United States. That is the de jure government. That is not colorable. The U.S. U.S. is colorable. And what I do oftentimes, when you'll see on the applications, is U.S. citizen. And what I do is I create a box and I put citizen of the United States Republic, North America. And I check that box off. So the only time you see that, just be cognizant of that. You'll often see that U.S. citizen. All right? And so that's very important. Explaining, I'm going to break this down a little bit. On the questionnaire, Juali has a woman, and humanity is written on her womb. And this symbolizes our economic lifeline. The Moorish Fez symbolizes our nativity, our Moorish nativity. The womb of woman, the navel, the umbilical cord, the placenta, 360 strings, 3 plus 6 plus 0 is 9. 9 convict moons that it took this form to manifest in my mother's womb. I am Mason because I am a son of a mother. I am Muslim because I am manifest man. Muscles, tissues, and bones. Manifest in the womb of woman in 9 months. Muslim. Alright? So we make it very clear that any man born of a woman is a Mason. And what they've done is take that and apply it only to those who are members of a lodge. So that's what makes you a Mason. So if you deny your nationality and your nativity, you have no rights to resources, and therefore you are property. And this is, as we said earlier, this is the problem that we're facing. Another point, just trying to see where you didn't touch, so I won't be repetitive. The 14th and 15th Amendments, which are unconstitutional. And I said we are part and parcel of their separate government. We are natural born citizens. And Nuzrali said that there's no need for 14th, 15th Amendment. And he mentioned here, and at the time, 1865, that the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. That's a sodomy. That's the symbol, compass and square. Juali implied a lot of things in here. So what I'm doing is trying to bring them out. He implied sodomy when he said here, equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since the constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th, 15th Amendment. That's the sodomy, which means iso, which is a Greek word, which means equal. Nom, which means law, equal rights, equal justice in a social society for all men. That's a sodomy. Juali was a lawman. He was bringing us back into the law. And by bringing us back into the law, we're going to be commanding that the Europeans be brought back into the law. But however, we're not in the law. It's like, do you know offsetting penalty? Offsetting penalty in football is when an offensive player and defensive player commits a foul on the same play. That penalty is offsetting. So if we're outside the law, we can't command the Europeans to be into the law. We must be into the law. All right? And this is what Juali was doing, bringing us back into the law. And by being active all over the country, we are forcing the plebiscite, which was strengthened. Now, we tried to emphasize earlier that it suggested to you not to overly emphasize filing suits, single suits, though we're going to be doing that. Why? Because as an individual, the sovereignty is weak, but as the collective, that's where the strength is. And if you're talking constitutional principles, you're talking the national sovereignty. You're not talking the individual sovereignty, you're talking the collective sovereignty, the collective agreement, the common law of the people. So Talib was emphasizing the national sovereignty when he mentioned constitutional principles over and over and over again, all throughout this document. And this is said before, this is the heart of the movement. To not talk constitutional principles, you're not talking the Moorish national divine movement. You may be saying the word, but you're not talking it. All right? So to bring our people back into the constitutional fold of government is the purpose of the Moorish divine national movement. So when on Wednesdays when I work with you sometimes, these are some of the issues that I'll be bringing up more, going more in depth. All right, and tying this relationship and letting people know what is the Moorish national divine movement, and that is the Constitution, talking of constitutional principles, letting them know that it is a divine document.